What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have something really special for you in store. Periodically, I'll sit down with my kids and just have some great conversations. And this Sunday night, I started having a conversation with my oldest daughter, and just turned into a really cool conversation. About the time I started recording, I thought, gosh, this is going to be really great, and I missed the whole first part of the conversation. But I thought I'd edit it in, so please forgive some of the quiet stuff. We tried to amplify the volume a little bit and make it louder for you. And we decided to share it with you. So I hope you enjoy it. We talk about a lot of things, business and emotions, and a lot of fun things. So enjoy today's episode. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson. I'm a ballroom dance professional, a life coach, and a peak performance expert. I'm part of a group of motivated people who are dedicated to attaining emotional mastery and unlocking our full potential. We've realized life is a dance. The ups and downs can spin you out of your mind, but it's time to take back control. It's time to become a lifer. We don't believe others are responsible for how we feel. In fact, we don't believe anyone can make us feel anything. We are a new breed of overachievers. Emotional mastery is our journey, and unlocking our full potential is the key. Welcome to the journey. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life.
You're trying to figure out what it is that you'd like to do. And I understand that, I think that's great. How many people are doing that? There are adults that have been working as employees since they were younger, and now they want to do something on their own because they realize that they have a passion about something. And they are starting to go through the process that you're talking about right now. Why? Well, maybe nobody led them to this point. Maybe nobody told them to have dreams and aspirations to change the world one person at a time, right? And we talk about changing the world, right? And that sounds kind of epic, but I think because I talk about it a lot, it's normal to you, right? But when I say change the world to a lot of people, they go, "Oh my gosh, change the world! I can't even, change one person," and that's fine. But you know what? Like I look at it and go, okay, if I change one person tomorrow. If I change one person by one thing I said,
then they can help another person.
Then they
keep spreading.
They might help one other person. They might not, but they might help one person, right?
And it's a chance.
And at least close to home, as I'm teaching you, what are the odds that you're going to help more than one person change their life? Well, the odds are along the way, whether you know it or don't know it, whether you fail or don't fail, doesn't matter. The odds are you're going to change some people's lives. You know what I mean? The podcasts that you've already recorded that you haven't put up, someday you might put them up. You might not.
Or look back at it and realize how bad they are.
No, or you might look back at it and realize how great they were. And you go, gosh, that's a perfect voice, and that's a perfect thing to be able to give to somebody in 6th grade, because I bet they'd like to hear it. And then you sell it as your memoirs, or whatever it is that you do, because it's going to help somebody.
It's a memoir.
Like your memoirs or like journals or things that you've written about what happened in your past. You know what I mean? So those things can help people. But your ability...
help people.
Yeah. Your ability to sit here and go, okay, let's evaluate the problems that your target audience is having right now. And then going, yeah, I want to help them solve those problems. And if you can help solve those problems better than anybody else, then you might earn some money from it. And that would be cool too. But if you help them solve those problems and you didn't earn any money from it, and you had a kid or a parent come back to you and go, thank you so much, because you changed my kid's life forever.
Pretty epic.
That's pretty epic. And if you didn't earn any money on it for the next couple of years, but you changed 100 kids' lives, how do you think that'll impact the world? That'll impact the world massively. Just like your teacher, Mr. Gilbert has changed your world. He's changed your life because of things he's taught you, because of inspiration that he's given you.
It's cool too, because he always says, like, during class, he's like, yeah, I think I learn more in this class than I do in life, like everyday life.
Well, because he's teaching you, and if you guys are responding and interacting, it forms what Napoleon Hill in that book, Think and Grow Rich, that I made you read once upon a time. Oh, maybe I made Nate read it.
Nate.
Right? But you should read it. And Napoleon Hill is taught years and years and years ago. I mean, like 1967 or something was when the book was written. I don't know the exact date. But he taught to form masterminds with people that were like-minded, like you and I sitting here talking about personal development and how we can change people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool, right? So if you're thinking about a problem that you can solve and how you're going to solve it, that's pretty cool, right?
It's just the next step, though.
Well, and the next step is one foot in front of the other. It's just like dance. You don't try to get the next routine, you try to get the routine you're on. You don't try to get the next technical skill, you get the one that you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's like a staircase.
For a lot of people in dance, that is one of the life lessons, right? Is that you learn in dance, and you do in sports and gymnastics and all sorts of different things. You take one step at a time. Yeah. That's it, just one step at a time. And you don't need to try to figure out how you're going to earn $1 million right now. You need to learn how to solve a problem for somebody right now. How can you solve a problem?
The way to figure out the problem is to go back.
Well, you got to go back and think. Like, where have you been? You've been in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade.
6th grade was like the best year of my life.
Well, okay, and that's great. That's 14 years. And your best year was when you were 6th grade. Okay, great. Well, what happened in the next couple years? You started experiencing challenges and problems and things that stressed you out or made you angry or made you sad. You know what I mean? Like, and all of those things, all of those problems, you should write down, because I bet you anything
that everyone else is going through it too.
There's other people going through it too, right? And maybe there's nobody speaking to them that they know, and maybe your job is to get your message of how you figured out how to solve it from your knowledge from camp, from your knowledge from Mr. Gilbert, from your knowledge from the people that are in your world helping you solve those problems. Well, what if you put those together, and now all of a sudden you go to people that are in that age category and you go, look, I know you're going to have this problem. And they go, oh, it's like she knows me. Yeah, because you've been through it, because you had that problem, because not because you're so great or because you're so much better than everybody else. And that's where people go wrong, right? The gurus are not out there trying to be better than everybody else. The gurus that are out there, right? I'm giving them a name. The gurus that are out there are talking to people about problems that they've experienced and things that they've gone through. Right, you kick back to people like Anthony Robbins, who we love to listen to, and he's changed a lot of people's lives, millions of people's lives. But he did it off of a foundation where he started with something that was challenging for him in his life, and he had to figure out how to overcome it. And when he did, he went, gosh, I can share this with a lot of people. I can share this with a lot of people and change their lives, because I'm going to teach them how I solved that problem. And then that thing worked, and then he exploded.
And speaking of the camp thing, do you remember the balloons that we did a while ago?
That was cool, right? Yeah, the balloon exercise.
I had the same balloon under my desk for like a year after and whatever.
Yeah.
And I literally made a video on it. I don't know where it went now. It's probably on my computer somewhere.
Sure.
But I made a video of me popping the balloon and reading it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I already accomplished this in like a month after. I was like,
crazy. Well, and that's the thing, right? Anthony Robbins always says most people sorely underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years and hugely overestimate what they can accomplish in a year. But you know what? That's how we succeed, because we fail forward, right? And that's a fun little thing. I can't remember who wrote that the other day. It was up on social media. But, you know, that's the thing. We want to go try to help solve a problem. And that already separates you and I from many people who are too afraid to do anything. Because
it's hard to see, though. Like, how are people... Like, how do people think that way? Does that make sense?
Well, you got to understand, like, you've grown up in this household of us talking about emotional mastery.
but it's because they grow up with
That's right.
that surrounding.
Yeah.
But
Well, and we're talking about personal development, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, a football player has a high chance of having a child that wants to play football or understands or knows football, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same with gymnastics or anything. But that doesn't mean that people that don't do football
don't understand.
can't have a kid that's going to grow up to be the next football champion. That's not how it works. And sometimes that is what happens, but that's because that kid falls in love with it and will do anything and everything. And that's what happens every time somebody falls in love with a thing that they're doing, a hobby, a passion. They will do anything to learn how to be the best at that thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's okay. So it doesn't bind us to the thing that we have been educated on. But just like I said earlier, whether you go on to teach or share personal development with people all over the world, or whether you take this knowledge that you're learning now and put it into the passion or thing that you ultimately fall in love with and use it to influence that group of people with this knowledge, you might have a combination. So like for me, you know, my path was to dance, right? Started when I was 5. You've heard the story. And I danced all the way through a professional career. But I also started learning NLP and got certified, and I became passionate about that.
You thought it was going to be basketball at the time.
That's right. I mean, when I was in high school, I thought I was going to be a basketball player, right? Professional.
And then the glasses thing messed you up.
That's right. Right? Lost my eyesight, so to speak. Right? But here's the thing. You and I believe it was meant to happen, just like it was supposed to.
But looking back at it.
That's right. Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
Right? Hindsight is 20/20. But going forward, you look at it and you go, okay, what people are learning about me as we continue to progress and evolve is that they're going, oh, you're a ballroom dancer. And a lot of people get stuck in one thing, like, oh, you're a football player, you can't do anything else. And then you look at Michael Strahan, who was he won a Super Bowl ring with the Giants, and he ended up hosting the one of those Good Morning shows, right? He became
another example is like Will Smith.
Yeah. He started off as a rapper, then he went on to be on a TV sitcom. Well, some people go, oh, I'm a TV sitcom actor, I'm going to be that for the rest of my life. But Will Smith didn't. He went, oh, I'm a rapper, I want to do a sitcom. So then he went to be a sitcom. Then it was like, oh, I want to do movies. Okay, so he got into action movies, I think. Then he was like, oh, I want to do a drama. So he does a drama movie. Oh, I want to do a comedy. Okay, so he does it, like he can do anything, right? Well, that's what you say. He can do anything, but it's because of his belief system, because he believes he can do anything. You know, he did an interview. He's like, well, I believe I could be the president if I wanted to be, but I don't. Right, but I don't. And I think that's the thing. What if we instilled that kind of belief in our children?
Because when they grow up knowing it.
They know and believe they can do anything. Okay, great. At what point do you not want to do it? Well, great, move on. At what point do you do want to do it?
And that helps the fact that failing is okay.
That's right. Well, it's just a piece of knowledge that you didn't have before. Yeah. And sometimes you failing...
You haven't gained yet.
That's right. Sometimes you failing is the thing that teaches you how to do it right. Right? And that's almost always the case, right? You look at the Wright brothers who learned to build an airplane. They wanted to learn how to fly. Well, in learning to fly, how many times did they fail? A lot. Have you read any of that story, or have your teachers told you about it?
I've heard about it. I just haven't really studied much on it. But I know what you're talking about.
I mean, and there's these stories are I mean, there's just, that is the story of our human race, right? One farmer wants to get to another village to sell his goods, but he doesn't want to walk and he can't carry his goods. So they figure out a way to do it. Do they figure out a wheel? Do they learn how to transport it better? Okay, the food's spoiling, but we wanted to get farther. Okay, they figured out a refrigerator, like...
Problem first and go from there.
Oh, there we go. Now we're talking. So they figured out what the problem was, and then they went, we've got to solve that problem. Well, did they know how to make a refrigerator? No. Somebody went, what's the problem? Well, the food's not staying
So they needed
good.
to find a way to...
Okay, well, what do we do? Well, I've read somewhere, and I can't remember where it was, but I read somewhere that the first knowledge of refrigerating food so that it would stay better was keeping it in cold caves, where it would stay better longer, right? So then they learned about preservatives. The old Indians learned about preservatives, and things like salt. Well, that's what salt was used for. It was to preserve meat for a little bit longer. Don't quote me on that, But the point is, hi Nate.
Hi.
But the point is that we come up with a problem. So what's the problem you're going to solve, Nate?
What are we talking about?
With the course that you're going to make. What's the problem you're going to solve? It's simple. Let's start with the simple, most basic problem you're going to solve. What is it? With the course that you're going to build.
People thinking this thing's impossible.
People thinking, so you went to the harder problem. The simple problem is somebody needs to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube. Needs to, wants to, whatever. Okay? Then higher up the ladder is people think it's impossible. Okay, well, you're gonna debunk that, right? Okay, cool. So you're gonna build a course that's easier, faster, better than other people have built. And then you've got to figure out a way to get that out to everybody who ever wanted to solve a Rubik's Cube. Do you see what I'm saying? And so you figure out the problems that you're going to solve, and then you help solve those problems. And the people that need that problem solved will then buy that course from you. And it's not about the money, but you will have brought joy to their life. Because how fun was it? It was fun enough that you keep doing it. How fun was it when you first solved the Rubik's Cube on your own? It was pretty fun, right? Now, how fun is it now? It's still pretty fun, otherwise you wouldn't do it. Every time you get it solved and you get all four, or how many sides are there? All 6 sides, the right color, it allows you to feel good about yourself. Is that not true? That's true, right? You never thought of it that way, but you solve it, and you try to solve it faster, and you try to get better at it.
And just beating yourself is the fun part.
And getting better than you did before, right? Beating yourself. That's funny. I imagine if you...
with everything.
Yeah, and imagine if you tried to sell that to people. I'd like to teach you how to beat yourself. Boy, that comes off wrong, doesn't it?
You could use that title, too.
Right. So the goal first is simple. Right? Figure out a problem that is going on. And how can you know a problem? Well,
solve it.
You know a problem not by going out and seeking out problems you don't know the answer to. Why? Because you wouldn't know it was a problem if you hadn't realized it. Well, what's the problem I'm trying to solve, Nikki?
You can never unsee it. What?
What's the problem I'm trying to solve? Do you know?
Well, I know you're trying to, teach people, I guess.
Yeah. Well, okay, what do you think, Nate? What do you think the problem I'm trying to solve is with my businesses and companies and products?
People think that you can't control your emotions.
Oh, yeah, the emotions.
They do, right? And I'm not out teaching that it's easy, because we're going against generations. Well, yeah, generally speaking, nothing's easy. Yeah.
Quote somewhere, and it said the scariest moment is always the first, when you start.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah. Well, and we're going against generations of people teaching that you can't control your emotions, or that you can't decide how you want to feel. And I'm not the first one to teach it. There are lots of people that have taught it before me, but obviously I'm going after a unique direction, and I'm honing in on a specific thing that I enjoy teaching about. I enjoy sharing with people my experiences about how I've dealt with it and learned about it. And you know what? We've all had our failures, and we're not perfect, how many people are out there right now looking up ways to control their emotions? Well, some, but I also have to make it...
People aren't aware of it.
That's right. And so if I if I bring it into people's awareness that emotional intelligence and training and control and management is something that will help their life regardless of what subject they're doing, well, if I can solve a good problem, then it will help support people and help them to get better.
So on Google, I just searched how to control, and the third thing that came up is your emotions. The third thing. What if we could make that the first?
Well, the first one was anger, huh?
Yeah.
What's anger?
It's an emotion.
Yeah.
So I guess that counts.
Yeah, it counts. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go to bed.
Happiness is a choice. Sadness is a choice. All emotions are a choice. Sometimes doing our emotions doesn't seem like it's our choice, but it is. You have control. You are the captain of your ship, and you must learn how to be the best captain you can be. Let me show you how. Pick up your free copy of my new book, Every Minute, at everyminutebook.com.